and welcome to the May 2013 Employee Recognition Ceremony. I am Joanne Swenson, Chair of the Employee Recognition Committee. Our committee has been in existence since 1997 and was formed to initiate and coordinate an Employee Achievement Award program to reward city employees for a job well done. Currently, our 11 members are employees from various city departments. I would like to thank the committee members for their year-long efforts to the committee. Our committee not only puts on the ceremony, they also provide the refreshments for you, as well as attend monthly meetings and review Service Number 1, Hats Off, and Kudos Award nominations. Please join me in thanking the Employee Recognition Committee members, Agnieszka Brooks and Sharon Simerick, Janet Dove, Lucinda Grant, Sue Holmer, Helene Neal, Captain Rob Nugent, Marcy Reedy, Kim Tyre, and India Williams. We have many employees to recognize today, so to ensure a smooth running ceremony, the committee and I ask that everyone be sure their cell phones are turned off or placed on silent, and that our presenters limit their comments to 2 minutes. I would like to begin the ceremony by thanking all the employees that are receiving their awards today, even those not in attendance, for their years of service. These employees would not be here today if it were not for the decades of support they received from their friends and family. To our employees receiving awards today, when your name is called, please bring your family and friends with you to the podium so they may be recognized alongside with you. We ask that you stand on the line to the left of the podium to receive your plaque. The city senior staff joining us today for the ceremony are Mayor Bill Foster, City Administrator Tish Elston, Leisure and Community Services Administrator Clarence Scott, Assistant Police Chief Luke Williams, and we have Chief Bassett here. Oh, nope, I'm sorry, Chief Large has made it. Good morning. I would like to introduce to you our Mayor, Bill Foster.
Well, good morning. Good morning. You know, I always love coming to these ceremonies because I get to see most of you out in the field, but it's nice to see you when you're with your families, when you're excited about recognition of a job well done, and that's kind of what Joanne was talking about. This is recognition of a job well done. There's 3 reasons I think that you're here today. One, you like what you're doing. We're recognizing 20, 25, 30 to 40 years, and you wouldn't have put years of service in if you didn't like what you were doing. Second reason is you're passionate about the people that you serve. You're passionate about the community at large and those that see the fruits of your labor, and you're passionate about working with really good crews and really good teams. And then the third reason that you are here today is because you have provided a quality service over the years. Nobody survives in a place of employment if they're not performing at the highest level. And that's what you are doing day in and day out. So I thank you for your commitment. I thank you for your leadership. And, you know, when we look at over the years, the budgets and things like that, and I know budget's a bad word, but every single person in here, every single person employed by the city of St. Petersburg is providing an essential need service, a vital role upon which this city could not run efficiently if you weren't providing that role. So for that, I say thank you. And this is a group with the leadership that's in this room and with the longevity that you provided to the citizens of St. Petersburg. I know that you were always prepared. And when I looked at the horrific images from Moore, Oklahoma, and I saw agencies from all over, but they were mainly focused on the city work, the city employees that were tasked now with rebuilding a city. And I always thank God for his grace, his loving protection over this city over the years. But I also know the realities of being on the Gulf of Mexico, but I know that you are always prepared and that you are always willing to step up and serve the people. And so for that, I say thank you. And to your families that have whisked you out the door, sometimes with a kiss, sometimes without, as you go to the place where you are providing this service, day in and day out, with a good attitude and a good mind, I say thank you to your spouses, to your children, because they were right there with you the whole time. And they allowed you to do your job with freedom of mind and freedom of presence so you could perform at a very high level. So families, welcome. Thank you for being here today. And at this time, oh, and thank you to the committee for always doing a fine job at employee recognition ceremonies. Now it is my privilege to introduce to you the Vice Chair of your City Council, Councilmember Bill Dudley.
Well, as always, it's a great honor and a privilege to be here. And, I thank you for everything that you do to provide quality of life in this city that citizens kind of take for granted. And I look out and I see some familiar faces. John Niles, I've known John for, seems like forever. In my previous life, John and I actually used to run into one another. He was a wrestling official and I was a wrestling coach, and I'm glad to see that through the years, are you wearing glasses now? Okay.
You needed to there.
But anyway, it's great, John. Congratulations. But people take for granted when they get up in the morning, and we've said this before, but it's so true. You turn the water on, and you get in your car and you drive on a street that's, drivable, and you put your sanitation stuff out and it's picked up and all. We take those things for granted. We're not really fully understanding what it takes to coordinate all that stuff and to make it happen. So we as residents, that provides the life that we live. We moved to this city because, it's a great place. And those are things we take for granted. So I really do thank all of you from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for a lot of residents, and thank you. And for those of you retiring, good luck, Godspeed. For those of you who are putting another notch in your belt, moving on to the next 5 years, God bless you also, and thank you for everything you do. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to start off the recognition ceremony with an individual who has been with us for 40 years. That's right, 40 years with the city of St. Petersburg. And introducing him is Phil Whitehouse from Parks and Recreation.
Greg, can we get you to come up here, please? Where's Greg Roberts? Where is he at? He's coming. He'll be here shortly. After 40 years, I guess you're entitled. Okay. Caught you off guard, didn't we? Greg Roberts, 40 years of service. 40 years of service, not sitting behind a desk, not out playing with kids in the field, not doing a lot of other things, but 40 years of service working on a crew that goes out there and trims trees and removes trees, and is a very, very difficult job. And that's what Greg has done for 40 years. He began his career as a laborer with the Parks and Recreation Department. Again, 40 years ago, and I think he made $1.91 an hour when he started. Times have changed a little bit. He was promoted rapidly to a maintenance man 1, and then to a tree trimmer 1, and a tree trimmer 2. He was located in general maintenance for years. It went from Parks and Rec to general maintenance, and eventually back to Parks and Recreation, where we currently have our forestry operations. I want to just mention a little bit about what these guys do, not Greg, and if you look in the back, you'll see a bunch of guys. Guys, stand up there in the forestry crew back there, if you would, please. You notice a lot of the green shirts. These are these are the guys that go out at 2 o'clock in the morning when we get a call for a tree down in the middle of the road. Police, fire constantly call in saying that you've got an issue out here. We've had a major thunderstorm. We've actually had thunderstorms out here, summer thunderstorms, that have created a lot of havoc that a lot of you don't even recognize, don't even know about it, because these guys are up and take care of it before you come in on your drive to work in the morning. And this is what I want to point out about guys like Greg who've done this day in and day out for 40 years. These guys also are responsible for our debris clearance in a hurricane disaster. They're the ones that go out to the fire stations and before the event, hunker down during the storm, and then respond to it immediately afterwards. Guys that don't typically get recognized. I think it's important for everybody to know exactly what they do. And again, Greg's been doing it for a long, long time. Hopefully he's going to keep doing it because he hasn't made any comments yet about leaving. So we're hoping that's going to be the case. You go back to like a prior employment. When you hear 40 years, you go back to what? Cash and carry when you're probably like 18 or something like that. So he's been here working for a long time. I know his outside interests are photography and especially fishing, and he needs to be doing more of that fishing, I think, on a regular basis. But other than that, I'd like to say congratulations, 40 years of service, hopefully a lot more. Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Greg. Okay. Next up, we have L.C. Houston with a 20-year service award. L.C., if you'd come up here, please. L.C. is joined with his wife today, Sinette. Would you like to bring Sinette up, too? L.C. has also brought his pastor and his wife along with him today to join in the celebration. Thank you. L.C., he's celebrating his 20-year service award. He currently works at the Bartlett Park Recreation Center, which is a very large complex, one of our more active centers. Contains athletic fields, tennis courts, ball fields, a lot of things going on at that park on a regular basis. L.C. began his career back in 1993 on the roving crew. He's worked basically for and with Scott Lene for almost his entire career. He had worked at Maximo Park for a number of years, one of our busier parks, especially during the summertime. And he's been looking to get back there, but he's been so helpful and useful at Bartlett Park that we've kept him there. He's doing an outstanding job at that location. He's received numerous awards and accommodations over the years for his daily work and efforts on many projects. Prior to coming to the city years and years ago, he worked as a welder and a long-haul truck driver. He also worked for the St. Pete Times. He's very involved in the community, especially with his church, where he's an associate elder and evangelist team leader. Outside interests includes basketball and billiards, as well as fishing, that seems to be a common theme, and hunting. So I think he goes to Georgia and does hog hunting on a regular basis. So I like that hog hunting. L.C., again, is joined by his wife, Sinette, and his pastor. And probably most importantly, L.C. is retiring next week on Wednesday. Wednesday will be his last day. So he's planning to do a lot of fun things. He's going to work on tinker with little engines that he's got at the house, and he's got a little lawn service on the side. So he's not going to be sitting there doing nothing. He's got a lot of things to keep him active. But L.C., we congratulate you on 20 years service and look forward to you having a wonderful retirement. Thank you. Lastly, on the park side of the house, we have Wes Bauer. Is Wes here? Now, if any of you have ever played softball in the Woodlawn Leagues or football, kickball, any of those things, you almost certainly have come in contact with Wes Bauer. Wes has been with us since 1987 officially, but in reality, he started back in 1980 and worked with us for quite a while before he went to work full-time with an auto parts store. So he did 2 jobs for a long, long period of time. Eventually, he's came back and he's just working with us right now. He's an invaluable member of the team. He gets there at 3:30, 4 o'clock, whenever it's necessary to get the fields ready for the games in the evening. And typically, summertime, as you know, we'll get the fields all ready to go during the day, and about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we'll get a rainstorm. And Wes will have to go back out there and basically start everything all over again and hopefully get the games in for that evening. But as I said, he's been here since 1987. He's done a number of things with the athletic department. He's worked at all of our facilities. He goes out and he does the rentals. He'll turn lights on and off for people. He'll make sure that the restrooms are available and opened up and cleaned and everything. He does all of the things that he needs to do to make our clients have an enjoyable experience out there in the field. He takes great pride in his work, and he loves the job. He says it's been a great 25 years, and he's looking forward to finishing out his career with the city of St. Petersburg. He loves NASCAR racing and Grand Prix racing, and particularly enjoys the Tampa Bay Rays. So with that, I'm going to congratulate Wes on 25 years of service, and again, hopefully he'll be around a lot longer.
Next up on the agenda is Park and Recreation also, but Mike Jeffries will be up to do the introduction.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome Anita Westmoreland up to the podium. Chris, if you'd like to join her, that would be. While Anita and Chris are walking up to the podium, I would like to mention that the handout says that Anita has 20 years of service. I actually have it down as 25, so we will certainly go back and research that. Anita has had the privilege of working on both sides of the recreation house. She's actually worked in the recreation center, and she's actually worked in the aquatics division as well. Anita started as a lifeguard over at Walter Fuller and moved to the Walter Fuller Recreation Center, where she was a Supervisor 1. And her current position, she was promoted to a Supervisor 2, where she runs all of the neighborhood pools and TI Beach. I know that sounds like a fun and exciting job, but I wanted to give you a little more detail on what that actually means. Anita is responsible for hiring over 100 lifeguards that will work for us for 10 weeks. Those lifeguards are typically under the age of 18. This is typically their first job. Anita has to explain protocol as far as proper workplace behavior. She has to talk about how you show up on time, what happens if you don't show up on time, and currently she has to talk about the social media issue. We all have issues with Facebook and MySpace, and that's something that Anita really has to tackle on the aquatic side. Anita has received several accolades and awards throughout her career. Anita has received the Outstanding Performance Award from the Parks and Recreation Department in 2010. Anita has also received the Aquatics Partnership Award from the Bay Vista Fundamental Elementary School. Anita is passionate about getting the message of drown-proofing the community out to schools and neighborhood associations. Anita has worked feverishly with the fire department and has worked with the Florida Safe Pools with All Children's Hospital to get the word out. Anita actually got a group together to work with the fire department to go door to door and share tips and concerns about safety, both educating your children, making sure that your property is secure, making sure that fences are properly installed. Very, very important. Several years ago, Anita had the opportunity to work in the recreation center side of the house, and she actually ran Shore Acres Elementary. That was an opportunity that Anita really seize the moment on. She was required to create a director's credential. She was required to complete her child development associate credential. She was also required to go through all of the Pinellas County licensed mods, which are required for a licensed play camp. Anita did all of that, accomplished all of those goals, and when we had an opening back in aquatics, we were able to get her back to her passion and her favorite spot. So one of the funny stories that Anita listed as far as her job goes, Gary, I apologize, it sounds like hazing to me, I'm not 100% sure, but apparently the first time that Lynn Russ and Todd Yost taught Anita how to backwash a pool, it was actually at Shore Acres pool, they actually had Anita look over the pit while they turned the valve and had all of the water, I guess, splash up in her face. And when she was startled, she asked what was going on. They explained that was the initiation process for all new pool supervisors. So we'll look into that to see if that's still occurring. So Anita enjoys spending time with her family. I can tell you that I know Anita and her family personally. My wife actually has babysat one of her children many, many years ago. And Anita is an amazing mother, an amazing supervisor. She has 2 children, Sierra, who is 10, Brooklyn, who is 1.5. And she also has a wonderful husband who is here with her, who works for the Devil Rays, and actually St. Pete Rays. I apologize. Tampa Bay Rays, there we go. Go, go, go. Sorry, Mayor. So she's very passionate about the Rays. She's passionate about their games. She's always keeping the office up to date and informed on wins and all of the stats. One other interesting point about Anita, she's got a puppy, Simba, who's an English Mastiff, who weighs in at a very tiny 220 pounds. So definitely a lot going on in the Westmoreland house. So I just want to take this moment to thank Anita for her 25 years. And again, as Phil said before, we hope for another 25 more. Thank you.
The next city department that's going to be recognized today is from Water Resources. And Steve Levitt, if you could work your way up to the podium. There you go.
Good morning. Janet DiBiasio, if you could come on up, and if you would bring your husband, and Daniel could join you up here. We'll be honoring Janet for 20 years of service. Janet had a kind of a unique start in life. She wasn't born here in St. Petersburg. She's not even a Florida native. She was actually born in Belgium. That's as in Belgium, the country on the other side of the big pond. And she lived over there for 3 years, and her folks moved over to stateside, settled in New Jersey, where she was raised. Went to the College of Vermont, University of Vermont, where she got a degree in environmental studies and began her career in environment, working for the US EPA and the Vermont Environmental Protection Agency. In 1986, Daniel and Janet saw the light and moved to Florida. She started work, did a couple years service at the DEP, and then she worked for a consultant and was involved in a rather unique project. And I think Ben Shirley, he'll appreciate this, but one of her projects was to determine the composition of solid waste. And the way you do that is you dump the truck out on the pavement, and then you sort through it. And you sort through it into, 27 different categories, something like that?
Yeah.
Fortunately,
Recycling.
yeah, the primary purpose is to determine how much could be recycled. And the good news all that was she was the sorting supervisor and not the sortee person. So in 1993, she started with the city in our Water Resources Department in the pretreatment and grease program. And then in 2008, she was promoted to her current position as operations specialist in our wastewater reclamation facilities. She has an industrial pretreatment certification, a Class B wastewater operator certification. She's been very active in the Florida Water Pollution Control Operators Association, and she's received the Pretreatment Operator of the Year Award, and also has received 2 awards on 2 different occasions for dedicated service and outstanding contribution. In addition, she's very active in her community. She's a neighborhood block captain, and just last week graduated from Kona's leadership training course. She and Daniel are both very outdoors oriented, and that was passed on to their 2 daughters. She has 1 daughter that's back up in Vermont. The other daughter is out west, working on a master's degree in education, but mostly being a professional ski patrol person, doing tours and education for a different nature type of activities. So they enjoy kayaking, sailing, hiking, snow skiing, and bird watching. And on rainy days, apparently, she enjoys reading. So please join me in recognize Janet DiBiasio for 20 years of service to the citizens of St. Petersburg. If Jeff Blocker could come forward. Going to be honoring Jeff for 30 years of service. And unlike Janet, Jeff was born right here in St. Petersburg. He's a graduate from Gibbs High School. And well, there's the other graduate right there. See, I lost my train of thought there. In 1983, he started with the city, worked a couple years with the real estate department, a couple years with the Parks and Recreation Department, and then in 1990, he came over to the Water Reclamation Department, worked on wastewater line maintenance, done a number of different projects, different tasks there. He has a Class C certification in wastewater. He worked on their construction crews, he worked on their closed circuit TV crews, and he drove the Vector trucks. Currently, he's on one of our, what we call our QTV crews. And this is a crew that basically is a high-tech form of lamping. Back in the very old days when they first started putting in gravity sewers, they did a process called lamping to determine if the line was plugged. And what they did is they had a person went down a manhole at each end of the pipe, and at one end the worker literally held a lamp in front of the sewer, and then at the other end the individual looked up the line. If he could see the light, then the line was clear. If he couldn't see the light, then that means the sewer was plugged, and they would clean it. Well, we don't do that quite that way, but essentially it's the same thing. We use what we call a camera on a stick. We lower a video camera on the end of a stick into the sewer, and we take a picture up into the sewer, basically lamping the sewer to see if it's plugged. And it's part of our initial screening that we do to determine which sewers we need to spend time on because they're in bad shape, and which sewers we can leave alone for a little while. His outside interests are wrestling and football. And remember, this is a gentleman that was born here in St. Petersburg, Florida, and his favorite football teams, college and professional, and see if you notice the theme, or maybe I should say a lack of a theme here. They are Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma, Colts, New England, Steelers, and Denver. But Jeff has got a real big heart. He's always helping his family and friends. Right now, he's helping a neighbor who's had some car trouble and couldn't get around, so he's helping him, running them to the grocery store, running them to doctor's appointments, taking them on other errands. Several years ago, when the division went from 5 8-hour days to 4 10-hour days, there was one individual on the crew that, because of personal reasons, really wanted to continue working the 5 8-hour days. And they went to the manager, Lane Longley, and Lane said, if you can find somebody else to work with you, that's okay. We can make that, we can do that. And so this individual went around to all of his coworkers and said, would you work 5 8-hour days with me? Work 5 8-hour days. And everybody said, no, 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 until they got to Jeff. And Jeff said, yeah, I'll do that. I'll help you out. So please join me and recognize Jeff Blocker, the big man with a big heart, for 30 years of taking. Last water resource employee we want to honor tonight is Mr. John Niles for 35 years of service. And John, if your wife and family would come on up. Come on, bring the Jana, come on. Get the grandkids up here, come on. This is a family affair.
No way.
John also started life here in the Bay Area, being born over in MacDill Air Force Base. He graduated from Dixie Hollins High School and then went on to Faulkner State College. And while he was at Dixie Hollins High School, he was on the wrestling team, and he made it all the way out to the state finals. And after he got out of college and started working, he took that love of wrestling, the love of working with youth. He took that keen 20/20 vision that Councilman Dudley talked about a minute ago, that nimble agility that he has, the ability to make correct split-second decisions. And he became a referee for both college and high school, and he's been refereeing those wrestling for 33 years, also been doing high school football for 25 years. He started with the city in March of 1978, again in our Water Resources Department. He's a licensed Class A operator, a number of different roles during his career. For 23 years, he was the shift supervisor at the Northeast facility, 2 years as acting chief at the Albert Whitted facility. And after he left there, we decided to close that place up. You know, you can't follow John. So, and now he's currently the chief operator out at the Northwest facility. And while he was at both the Northeast and Northwest facility, those plants were awarded the Phelps Award. And this is an award by the Florida Water Environment Federation for the best operating secondary wastewater treatment plants in the state. He's married to Jane, his wife. They have 2 children, Jana and John, and 5 grandchildren. He enjoys golf, bowling, and boating. And in addition to being his 35th anniversary on July 9th, just in 3 weeks here or so, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, John's going to be retiring. His wife, however, Jane, is still going to be working, which I'm not sure how he did that. I got to figure that one out. But he plans to enjoy his pontoon boat, his grandchildren, and then when Jane finally retires, get a small RV and do some traveling around the country. So please join me in recognizing John Niles for 35 years of helping keep the environment.
The next employee that we're going to be recognizing is from our billing and collections department. So if we could have Candace Winter come on up.
Good morning. Althea Thornton, would you join me up here? Okay. Althea began her career with the city in May 1993 as a special assessment clerk with the Billing and Collections Department. In August 2009, she was promoted to her current position as the administrative assistant. Although Althea is well known for her 20 years' worth of city collections knowledge, she's also well known for her head-to-toe ensembles she proudly wears during the celebration of Black History Month. She constantly receives daily compliments from her coworkers and the public alike. During this past February, I noticed a customer coming in every single day just so he can take a photo of her. Althea is a devoted mom, and G-Ma, as her grandkids call her, and she enjoys spending quality time with the family. In attendance today are her children, Corey, Shanice, and Tia. She has 3 adorable grandchildren, Symphony 14, Brianna 8, and Elijah 18 months. Also today in attendance is her daughter-in-law Debbie. I think she's taken photos over here. Althea's hobbies include sewing, cooking, and decorating to the nines for the holidays. Please join me in congratulating Althea for her 20 years of service.
Thank you, everybody.
The next employee that we're going to recognize is from our Downtown Enterprises Department. If we could have David Metz come on up.
Good morning. You guys are a very patient group this morning. My name is David Metz, and I'm Director of the Downtown Enterprise Facilities Department. It's my pleasure this morning to recognize Robin for her 25-year service. She's joined by her daughter, Jennifer. She also has a son, Jonathan. She's been with the city 25 years and really is very dedicated, currently assigned to the Coliseum and works with Lauren Kleinfeld, who's her manager. And basically, she's a facilities assistant and really is the first line of defense in working with the public and the group that basically use the facility. She reaches out to the customers and to the businesses, works with them to show them the facility and basically execute the contracts necessary to rent the facility, and basically shows them around from start to finish. Bills for the services, and basically is really the face for the Coliseum. She originally started in the Recreation Department 25 years ago, and Lauren was her supervisor. I think Lauren was the one that hired her into the city, and she was a recreation leader. And when the city took responsibility for the Coliseum and Lauren transferred to that facility, Robin left and went to work for Lauren. So basically, they've pretty much been inseparable for 25 years. And Lauren recently completed 30 years service. But she's really a dedicated person. And if you spend a few minutes talking to her, you get really 2 things come from that conversation. One is she is very committed to the city, and her 25 years service certainly shows that. But also, she's a very dedicated mother and parent. And she's extremely proud of her 2 kids. Her daughter Jennifer has 1 son, Ethan, and I think she is expecting a 2nd child. So Robin is glad to be a grandmother. She's also a graduate of St. Petersburg College, has an Associate of Arts degree in Health Services. And it's really just, again, a pleasure to recognize her. She's very committed, very dedicated, and very proud to be a city employee. So on behalf of the city of St. Petersburg, thank you for 25 years service.
our next city department is a personal favorite of mine. If I could have Assistant Chief Luke Williams come up and introduce our police employees.
Good morning, everyone. Officer Jim Knight, if you could join me up front. I'd like to express to the audience that Chief Harmon expressed his regrets for being unable to be here today, so it is an honor for me to stand here in his stead to congratulate those employees who've are acknowledging their service awards today. First and foremost is Officer Jim Knight. Officer Knight has been with us for 25 years, and he currently is assigned to Patrol District Number 2. He comes to us by way of Central Texas College and the University of Tampa. And he was also prior military, where he served 6 years of active duty and exited the military as a military police and as a sergeant. He volunteers for various charity organizations within the community, and his hobbies is that he likes to golf, travel, and take care of the rental properties that he owns. He has been on the SWAT team for 20 years, and his earlier duties within the organization, he served as a SIU detective, as well as a community and a neighborhood police officer for 2 years. He has received numerous awards from his military background, which includes the U.S. Army Good Conduct Medals, which he received 2 of those, the Overseas Ribbon, and the Joint Service Army Commendation Medal. Again, Officer Knight, congratulations on behalf of Chief Harmon and the men and women of the St. Petersburg Police Department for 25 years of service. Congratulations. Before I call the next employee, I'd like to call his family up first. And first and foremost, Patricia Horge, if you would come up, please. Patricia is the mother of the children that she shared with Sergeant Larry Horge. Sergeant Horge, if you can come up as well. And in the audience, and if you all could join us as well, we have MacArthur Freeman and his wife Elizabeth Horge Freeman. We have Jennifer Horge, and we also have Jeanette Horge. And I bring his family up because he is an individual who does 2 things. He's very faithful to his family and to his community. And with the community and with the representation that we have here for his family, it speaks volumes for Sergeant Horge. He is actually receiving his 25-year service award today. And I remember the first day he came onto the organization because he and I were working in the same district, and we walked Jordan Park together, I think on one of his very first assignments. And he found a niche because he became one of the initial prior patrol officers that actually was an impetus to our version of a community policing here in St. Petersburg. And because of the impact and the relationships that he built in Jordan Park, obviously crime was reduced, and it became a model for the rest of the city to engage in. Currently, he serves as our community service sergeant, and he does an excellent job. At a drop of a dime, there's usually calls that come in as it relates to problems or issues that come up in the community, and I'm always confident in the fact that when I call Sergeant Horge that he will address the problem not only efficiently but effectively, and he makes sure that that issue is taken care of and resolved. His personal background is that he's a graduate from Florida A&M University, which is the Rattlers, and the Rattlers, okay. And as a result of going to FAMU, he was actually a member of the Marching 100 Band, which is an honor in itself. He plays wind instruments, the clarinet, and actually he also, he gracious us with his presence on each holiday. For the officers, we have a cookout, and he actually plays the saxophone. He's very good at it. He has a goal of learning all the wind instruments, is what I've learned, and he's actually very good at what he does. He is a deacon at Mount Vernon Primitive Baptist Church in Tampa. Again, he puts faith and family first. He also puts the community first. He volunteers for the 5,000 role models, the Right Field program with the Pointer Institute, where he spends a significant amount of time. And he also volunteers annually at the Pinellas County Urban League Crime Run. So without taking up very much more time, I just want you all to join me in congratulating Sergeant Larry Horge on 25 years of service with the St. Petersburg Police Department. If I can also just add that as a tribute to Sergeant Horge and his impact with his family, all of his children, he has 6 children. All of his children are college graduates, and we're not talking just AA degrees, we're talking doctorates and master's degrees. So he's done a great job of preparing his children for the future. Thank you all.
Our next city department that will be recognizing employees today is our fire department. Chief Large?
It's one of my personal favorites. Well, good morning. Before we get started, I'm not going to pick on the police department today. That's something that we normally do. Well, I came in a few minutes late. I went to the back table to get some snacks like I always do. And I noticed there were donut holes left, so I knew Chuck wasn't here today. So without him being here, I'm not gonna pick on him. And with Luke being here, I certainly couldn't pick on him because Luke and I go way back. Since 1999, Luke and I, we've listened to about the wind instruments and everything. Luke and I formed a band back in 1999. We go as Guns and Hoses. And my stage name's Axel Hose, and he's DJ Luke Ba. So I definitely can't pick on Luke. So with that, I'd like to bring up our first 20-year recipient, John Horsfield. And John, bring your family with you. I've learned from a few missteps. You get all your information before you start. But John joined us in March 15th, 1993, second generation firefighter. He's currently at the Lake Pasadena station. That's Station 9, 66 and 5th Avenue North. With him today is his wife Tracy, his children Mia and Kyle, and his mother Patricia. His department activities, he's a state and county certified EMT, and he's both certified in engine operations and ladder operations. He's an avid hunter and fisher, avid hunter and fisherman, and it says golf, but I've seen him play. He's not avid in golf. He has his Fire Officer 1 certification, and his most memorable work moment, and this one obviously would stand out to anyone, is he actually got an opportunity to drive his father to a working structure fire before his father retired, and they worked together on a working structure fire. And we always pride ourselves on being a family, and I think that's why we have so many second and third generation firefighters, because it is a great family. John has been a great role model and mentor to our newer firefighters. We have quite a transition going on in the fire service right now. We have a lot of experience and institutional knowledge that's retiring. You'll meet some of that today. And we need these young men like John, who after 20 years is still serving as a role model, still leading by example, and still showing the new guys how to do the job the right way. So please join me in congratulating John Horsfield, 20 years of service with St. Pete Fire District. Next, if I could have Andre Johnson up. Bring your family, Andre. You know, we do pride ourselves on working very closely with our brothers and sisters in the police department, and Andre's taken it to a whole nother level. I'd like to introduce you to his wife, Major Cheryl Johnson of the St. Pete Police Department. His children, Jayla, Kirsten, Krista. Who all's with us today? Just Jayla. Just Jayla, okay. His department activities, well, first, he joined the department in March of 1993. He's also at our Lake Pasadena Fire Station. He's a state and county certified EMT. He's a certified engine operator. He was our 2003 EMT of the Year. His outside activities, he's active in church and his kids' activities, and he likes to play basketball. He has an associate's degree in fire science from St. Pete College. His most memorable work moment was receiving the EMT of the Year award. And I've played a lot of basketball with Andre, so he does like playing basketball, but I'd also tell you he's extremely good at it. And I'll share a little bit of story about basketball on another person that comes up, and I'll include Andre in that at that time. But he's just, I've been trying to talk him into taking a promotional test because Andre's a natural leader around the station, on the department. He's looked up to, he's highly respected, and he's just, like I say, he's a great asset. Like John, they're at the same station together, and there's a mindset there of mentorship and leadership and example that they carry day in and day out. And again, I'm extremely proud of these young men, and I ask you to join me in congratulating Andre on 20 years of service. All right, next up, with 30 years of service, Rob Henderson. If you could bring your family. Okay. Rob joined us in April of 1983. He spent the last part of his career, a great part of his career, at our busier stations, but he retired yesterday, was his retirement party. At the Palmetto Park Fire Station number 3, that's on 5th Avenue and 31st Street South. With him today is his wife, Cynthia. He has a daughter, Davri, sons Sean and Ryan. He has his granddaughter with him today, Sienna. Did I say that right? Yeah. And his goddaughter, Jayla Johnson. And Rob has an AS degree from St. Pete College. He's a graduate of Gibbs High. I don't know if you were here for that earlier.
I missed that.
You missed it, yeah. He's a state and county certified EMT. He's a dive team member, hazmat team member, state certified fire inspector. He was one of our very good fire scene investigators. 1989 Firefighter of the Year, 1996 EMT of the Year. He enjoys most sports, especially basketball, football, baseball, swimming. He took it on himself. He volunteered and he started what's turned out to be an annual tradition of the firefighters' boot drive for sickle cell. He does a great job with that every year. And the story I was going to tell about basketball, Rob's another one that's been on the court with me for the last 30 years, and well, not the last 30 years, because the last 9 I haven't been able to walk. So, but the 30 prior to that, spent a lot of time on the basketball court with Dre and Rob, and you know, I calculated it up, Rob, and in our career, because we played a lot, I had 1,560 block shots. 1,500 of them were on Rob. Andre had 4,000 block shots. 3,500 of them were on me. So we had a great time out there, and we stayed fit as long as we could. Some of us, Rob stayed fit longer. And But this is going to be it's not going to be, it's really a mixed emotion day for me because Rob and I have been good friends for a long time, and he's been a great resource for me to, especially the last few years as a fire chief. I've been able to talk to him about some issues that, we're trying to make the department the best. It is the best, but we're going to make it even better. And I've always relied on Rob for many things. I had him in prevention when I was the fire marshal. Like I said, he was a great fire scene investigator and just a consummate professional all the time. And it's going to be tough without you around. So congratulate Rob on 30 years of service, please.
I gotta breathe.
Okay, next is a 35-year recipient, Richard Crash Newberger. If he could go ahead and come up. Bring your family, please. I just read what's on the paper, Richard, that's it. Okay. With Richard today, yep, you have your wife, Terry, daughter, Lisa, son, Chip, Richard Jr., your mother, June,
My son-in-law, Daryl.
and his son-in-law, Daryl. Richard joined us in May of 1978. He's currently at the Shore Acres Station number 12. That's a personal favorite. It's at 1651 Bayou Grand Boulevard Northeast. His department activities, state and county certified EMT, certified engine driver. He's an original and current member of our Honor Guard. I will mention something about the Honor Guard. This is a purely volunteer group that we have. We give them as much support as we can, but it's not a tremendous amount. A lot of what they do is on their own, and they've been to all over the state, and every funeral that we have around here of retired firefighters, they volunteer and they participate, and they just do a great job. And he's currently our Honor Guard coordinator as well, after the previous coordinator retired. And so we really appreciate what they do. He's also a former hazmat member. He was a member of our spec committee for apparatus. He was a department CPR instructor. He's state and county certified EMT. In 1985, he was our EMT of the year. He's a former union shift vice president. Like I say, he's currently the steward at Station 12 for the union. His outside activities are bowling and watching his son play baseball. The nickname, it's probably how many years ago?
25 plus.
Yeah, 25 plus years ago, he decided to see how one of the trucks looked upside down. And
Millions of dollars.
he says he saved the city millions of dollars. I haven't figured that one out, but that's what he said.
If I run over the guy, he didn't.
Oh, yeah, that's true. His most memorable work moment, he has two of them. He helped deliver a baby once, and then a man who was crushed by his truck came by the station 2 weeks.
Not my truck, he was working on a truck in the yard.
Well, I didn't say it was, well, it did sound like your truck the way it's written. So a man who was crushed by Richard's truck, no, it's by his own truck, was working on it in his yard, came by the station 2 weeks after the incident to thank them and see them. And when you do see, like if you deliver a baby, we've had those parents bring the child by later on, or you have a significant save out there, people do come by to say thank you. And we're not looking for the thank you, but I can tell you it means a lot when you see the success when they walk into that station, and that would be a very memorable moment for you, I'm sure. So again, join me in congratulating Richard Newberger, 35 years of service. But for those of you that stayed, I want to say thank you. No, but I'd like to, on behalf of the fire department, I always like to make sure you know how much we appreciate all the departments and all these individuals and what they do, because the city's a team. There's not any one department that can do what they do without the help of the other departments, from budget to water resources. It just goes on and on. You know, payroll, a big one. So I want to say congratulations to all those recipients. I want to say thank you for what you do every day. And for the men and women of St. Pete Fire and Rescue, you have the best fire department there is, and you can always count on us. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Large. And the final recipient today is from our budget department, so Tish.
Good morning, everybody. We have a relatively short program today. Usually by the time we reach the end, the room is kind of vacant. So I wanted to spend some time talking a little bit about Denise Labrie and recognize the fact that she's got her support group in the back row back there. Thank you, budget folks. Yes, her second family, that's right. Denise and Bob, thanks for being here today. Denise Labrie began her career with the city in leisure services 20 years ago, where she was an administrative assistant for a year. Then she became an analyst in the budget department for 6 years and was promoted to the police department as their fiscal services manager for 5.5 years. For the last 7.5 years, she's been back in the budget department as our budget manager. Denise's husband, Bob's here today, and many of you know Bob as the key computer person in the Water Resources Department. Bob and Denise have been married for 29 years. They have 2 sons, Ryan and Nick. Here is something I'll bet you don't know about Denise, a little bit unusual. She was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. And after she completed her tour of duty in the Army, she worked in the private sector as a computer programmer. So both of those gave her a great background for her work in the budget department. She and Bob also rode motorcycles a few years back. I think they've given that up now. Denise has always been active in her church as a lector. She's been a member of the finance committee, and she's been a CCD volunteer. In her personal time, she loves outdoor activities, including fishing, kayaking, camping, and boating. And to put in a plug for our golf program, she plays golf as well. And she got started just a couple years ago by participating in the city's Golf for Fun program. So anybody who's interested in picking up another hobby over the summer, it's a great time to talk to our golf staff. My personal thanks to Denise for all her hard work and the talent that she brings to the city. Please join me in recognizing her for her first 20 years of service and many more to come. And I also have the privilege of reading the names of those who were too shy or tied up to be here this morning. So let me quickly go through that list. We had one 35-year person who wasn't able to join us this morning, and that was Willie Gibbons from Sanitation. So let's give a round of applause to Willie, 35 years. We had Susan Robertson from the libraries, Ed Fitzgerald from Parks and Recs, and Sue Teagarden from Parks and Rec. From the police department, we had Karen Demick, Kenneth Jameson, and Robert Kosak. From stormwater and pavement, Curtis Dempsey. And those were our 30-year folks who weren't able to be here today. Let's give them a round of applause. We also had a number of 25-year folks. Tracy Long from Downtown Enterprise Facilities, Jerry Babcock from Engineering, Richard Laddick from Police, also Les Harris from Police, and Rich Thomas from Police. From Sanitation, we had Rhonda Evans and Marion Moody. From Water Resources, Jeff Elrod and Wilbert Works. Those are our 25-year folks who couldn't join us this morning. And finally, we have a few 20-year folks who weren't able to be here. And they were from Fire and Rescue, Chris Callahan and Daniel Chappell. Also from Fire Rescue was Ron Smith. And from Parks and Rec, Andre Pearson. From Sanitation, Andrea Archer Waller. And also from Sanitation, Fred Lee. And from Water Resources, Phil McIntosh. Those are our 20-year folks who couldn't join us this morning. It always makes me proud to be here to hear the stories behind the people who are the face of St. Petersburg. It's amazing the talent that we have in this organization. That's what makes this an outstanding city. We give quality service, it makes quality of life. People want to be here. Kids want to come back. We want our kids to come back. We want this to be a great place for them to come back and raise their kids. And it's all thanks to you for what you contributed on a day-to-day basis, for the families who are there to support you and all help to make this a wonderful place to live, to work, to play, and to grow old. So anyway, thank you so much for being here today. With that, I think we're adjourned.